Hi dear friends, welcome to my channel. It's Akshadare by Devraj. So before going to start this session, I request you everyone to please subscribe to my channel and like and comment. Please subscribe to my channel. I can come up with very informative videos in the upcoming videos. Let me open the newspaper. Today newspaper as it is eighth video. Eighth video and eighth class. Let me open the newspaper. The Hindu newspaper, as you know, everyone, the very important and very informative video newspaper for the competitive exams. So I hope you guys are following the same. Let me open the newspaper and e-paper. At least read the newspaper for 40 minutes to 2 hours each and every day. I'm sure you will learn English very easily within 30 days. And also, as I told, we have to follow some tactics which I have revealed in the previous video. There is a front page. Second few results to be announced today. 67 accused in Naroda killings case acquitted. Surat court rejects Rahul plea for stay on conviction. 5 soldiers killed as terrorist attack army truck in Poonch. Let me open this news. Read these news reviews. Court rejects his contention that the trial was unfair. Says complainant is an ex-minister involved in public life and thus the defamatory reforms remarks would have certainly harmed his reputation. Congress to file appeal in High Court. The Congress will file an appeal in the High Court against the Session Court's judgment rejecting Rahul Gandhi's application for a stay on his conviction, said party spokesperson and Supreme Court lawyer Abhishek Manu Singhvi. In a major setback to former Congress President Rahul Gandhi, a Surat Session Court on Thursday dismissed his plea seeking an interim stay on his conviction in a defamation case in which he was sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, leading to his disqualification from the Lok Sabha. The verdict means that he cannot be immediately reinstated as an MP. In his plea, Mr. Gandhi had sought a stay on his conviction, contending that the magisterial court had treated him harshly and that the trial was unfair. Last month, a magisterial court in Surat convicted and sentenced Mr. Gandhi to 2 years in jail for his 2019 remark, "How come all the thieves have Modi as their common surname?" The court had found Mr. Gandhi guilty of criminal defamation on a plea filed by BJP legislature Purnesh Modi. In a 27-page order on Thursday, additional sessions judge Robin Moghera rejected the argument that Mr. Modi's complaint was not maintainable. Rahul Gandhi failed to demonstrate that by not staying the conviction and denying an opportunity to contest the election, an irreversible and irrevocable damage will be caused to him. The court noted that judge held that the complainant, Mr. Modi, is a former minister and involved in public life, and thus the defamatory remark would have certainly harmed his reputation and caused him pain and agony in society. So, five soldiers killed as a terrorist attack army in Poonch. An army vehicle in flames after the terror attack at Manchur in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir on Thursday. Five soldiers were killed and another injured in a major military attack in Poonch district of Pir Panjal Valley in Jammu and Thursday. Militants opened fire and launched grenades at an army vehicle around 3 p.m. during a patrol. Five personnel of the Rashtriya Rifles and the unit deployed for counter-terrorist operations have unfortunately lost their lives in the incident. A Jammu-based army spokesman said. One army vehicle moving between Rimba, Gali, and Poonch in the Rajouri sector was fired upon by unidentified terrorists, taking advantage of a heavy rain and low visibility. The army said the vehicle caught fire due to likely use of grenades by terrorists. The army said added. 3,632 candidates filed nomination for polls. Flyovers are opposed by citizens but championed by political parties. Citizens can now use Nammam BMTC app for real-time information on bus services. Businessman booked for forging registration number plate of car. Cash withdrawn from bank account of Directorate of EDCS. The Central Division of Crime Police are on the lookout for a person who hacked into the bank account belonging to the state government-owned Directorate of Electronic Delivery of Citizen Services on March 22. The incident came to light on Wednesday when Meena J. accountant found that the amount had been encashed by presenting two check leaves from the account belonging to the Directorate. Mr. Meena in a complaint said that the Directorate doesn't issue any check to any person. The police have sought CCTV footage. Two peddlers caught, margin of worth 30 lakh recovered. Karnataka Post 2023 Lingayat leaders in BJP want party CM candidate to be from the community. HD dismisses a DK's plea against consent to CBI probe corruption case. DK Suresh files papers from Kanakapura as a precautionary step. Vinay Kulkarni moves SC seeking permission to enter the award. An elusive quest for political representation for these tribal people. Sushila Kuraganada, President of the Federation of Koraga Development Association in Karnataka and Kerala, speaking to press in Udupi. Kerala roads come under the watch of AI-enabled cameras. They are part of state's efforts to enforce traffic rules. Erring riders will receive alerts on their mobile phones regarding their violations immediately. Public to be sensitized on new system. Arikumpan led wild elephant herd attacks hurt in Idukki. More protection for approver in Vivekananda murder case. PSLV C-55 mission ISRO to carry out in orbit scientific experiments using spent PS4. Judicial custody of Trine Arson accused extended till May 5. NIA files charge sheet against 6 persons in Coimbatore car blast case. Kerala SSSC results to be announced before May 20. These educational institutions carry the stamp of heritage, changing academic patterns. Central College, Bangalore, it's a very nice building and has a very nice structure. The University of Vishweshwaraya College of Engineering, Bangalore, the renowned alumni and the legacy of Central College. SJB is spreading the academic wings far and wide. First women's polytechnic college in Asia. Once a premium institution for textile technology, UVC stands strong on the stone laid by Sir M. Vishweshwaraya. On the stage, the makers of the true crime series Dancing on the Grave talk about the 1991 Shakira Khalili murder case in Bangalore, revisiting a murder. Stories come from the human need to sit around and gossip, and stories always teach us something. True crime stories serve as warnings, what we must avoid and what we should look out for. Dance, music, gadgets, and more. Looking for a summer camp that encourages outdoor exploration and creative expression. Our list has got you covered. A new edge to the fight against tuberculosis. Let me read this article, editorial page. A new edge to the fight against tuberculosis (TB). Dr. Soumya Swaminathan is the former chief scientist of the World Health Organization and currently leads the MS Swaminathan Research Foundation. At the One World TB Summit in Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh on March 24, 2023, Prime Minister Narendra Modi instilled fresh energy to the global tuberculosis elimination response and reiterated India's commitment to spearhead this effort. Mr. Modi further emphasized the importance of innovation and the need to find new ways and formulate new strategies to achieve the desired outcomes. The Prime Minister's remarks are critical as we look to redefine India's and world's TB elimination response with innovation and research being central drivers of change. Lessons from the COVID-19 response. The COVID-19 pandemic provides a good reflection point. Even with innumerable challenges, countries were able to counter COVID-19 by drawing upon the innate human spirit to adapt, learn, experiment, and innovate. The pandemic has shown us that together we can overcome unprecedented adversity, and if we could do it to overcome COVID 19, we can and must certainly do it to handle TB. Over the last few years, India has made significant progress in its efforts to end TB. India's National TB Elimination Program, or the NTEP, previously known as the Revised National Tuberculosis Control Program, or RNTP-TCP, has introduced several measures to find, notify and treat TB cases, with case notifications rising from 15.6 lakh in 2014 to over 24 lakh in 2022. This reflects the program's expanded reach and improved detection measures. Further, novel approaches including engagement with the private sector, launch of social support provisions, and introduction of diagnostic tools and a new drug regimens have improved TB management. However, while these efforts have been commendable, lack of widespread awareness about the disease and lack of access to quality care continue to be a challenge. The recent National TB Prevalence Survey in India found that 64% of people with infectious TB did not seek care. As a result, national level estimates suggest that for every person notified with TB, we miss detecting almost two more cases. To address this challenge and truly bring transformative change in our TB response efforts, we will need to introduce disruptive approaches and new tools to change the way we prevent, diagnose and treat TB. India has long recognized the importance of investing in health research and development, especially in recent years. The Mission COVID Suraksha program to develop vaccines was a good example of a public-private partnership with clear goals and outcomes. The huge number of diagnostic tests are developed and a variety of different vaccine platforms show that our manufacturing sector is robust and can scale rapidly. It is also heartening to see the establishment of centers of excellence, which will facilitate collaboration between Indian Council of Medical Research laboratories and the private sector. It is possible, therefore, to strengthen and expand research and development efforts for TB, to develop new tools that will help India and other developing countries meet the hand TB targets. Prioritize TB vaccine trials. First, for any infectious disease, a vaccine is what makes elimination possible. We do have the basal calmette and BCG vaccine for TB, but it does not adequately protect adolescents and adults who are at the highest risk for developing and spreading TB. While COVID 19 vaccines were developed within a year, we must prioritize and pick up the pace to find an effective TB vaccine. There are currently over 15 TB vaccine candidates in the pipeline. We must ensure that their clinical trials are prioritized to assess their efficacy in various community settings and for different target groups. Second, testing for and diagnosing TB needs to become more accessible and affordable, so much so that each person with suggestive symptoms or frontline workers can test and get results within minutes at minimal cost. Point of care tests, such as home based tests for COVID, allowed decentralized, rapid, and low cost diagnostics to provide results within minutes. New innovations such as nasal and tongue swab based tests for TB can be a game changer by reducing diagnostic delays. Further, handheld digital X ray machines with artificial intelligence based software can now be taken to villages and urban settlements to screen large numbers of high risk individuals safely and conveniently. Third, the development and introduction of new therapeutic molecules can play a crucial role in the long run. While we continue to invest in drug discovery, we must also scale up newer and more effective regimens and also dip into our armory to repurpose existing drugs for deep TB. Shorter, safer, and more effective regimens do exist and include the IHP regimen for latent TB infections, the 4-month regimen HPZM for drug susceptible TB, and the 6-month regimen BPAL RM for drug resistant TB. The evidence on these regimens is clear. Timelines for scale up, however, have been too long. Appropriate policy frameworks. Finally, part of the process of strengthening the innovation ecosystem also involves creating regulatory and policy frameworks that smoothen the rollout of proven tools to reach people with as little delay as possible. This requires greater collaboration not just between policymakers, scientists, product developers, and clinical researchers across the country and even across regions, but potentially even between governments. Harmonization of standards and regulatory processes between countries can enable mutual recognition of evidence based standards and licenses and save critical time towards rollout. The COVID 19 pandemic proved India's apt title, Pharmacy of the World, how scientific ingenuity during the pandemic has cemented our position as pioneers in innovation in the life sciences. In this spirit, we must create a strong platform that channelizes investments in research to bring in a paradigm shift at every stage of the TB case cascade. Prevention, testing, and treatment. With its G20 presidency, India has another historical opportunity to build a global health architecture that creates equitable access for all. Let us use this opportunity to call for collaborative development of transformational tools and approaches that cater to not only our own needs but also that of the underrepresented but disproportionately affected developing world. TB should no longer be the heading leading infectious disease killer globally in the 21st century, and India can lead the way. So this is the editorial page of one part. The second part is the Walai branch effect of the Beijing Accord. Is a former Indian ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Oman, and the United Arab Emirates. Just over a month after the Beijing Accord restored ties between Iran and Saudi Arabia, the regional landscape is witnessing not war, death and destruction, but ministers and diplomats dashing from one capital to another to discuss initiatives to promote political and economic cooperation. The foreign ministers of Iran and Saudi Arabia have met in Beijing to discuss the details of mending their relations, opening embassies, operating direct flights, and facilitating issue of visas. Officials of both countries have since gone to their respective capitals to reopen their diplomatic and consular missions that have been shuttered for over 7 years. Saudi and Omani diplomats have been in Sana'a to discuss the terms of a ceasefire in Yemen, and the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, isolated for a decade, has been a welcome guest in Oman and the United Arab Emirates. While the Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad has visited Egypt and Saudi Arabia. Truce in Yemen. Yemen is an early test case for the resilience of the Saudi Iran Accord. The Saudis need an early exit from their costly Yemeni misadventure and want Iran to facilitate this by ending military supplies to the Houthis. But the kingdom is also aware that direct talks with Houthi leaders are essentially for any peaceful process to move forward. In early April, it was reported that the terms of a truce have been finalized between the Saudis and the Houthis. A ceasefire, an exchange of prisoners, the reopening of Sana'a airport, free access to Riyadh fort, the lifting of the blockade of Taj by the Houthis, and the reunification of the central bank and the payment of salaries to government employees from the oil revenues. These have been contentious issues in the past. Clearly, the Saudi side has made major concessions to obtain the truce. Once the truce holds, the second stage of negotiations will cover withdrawal of all foreign troops, the shape of the new political order, and the formation of a unified state. These discussions will be an intra-Yemeni matter. But given the number of political groups in the country and the deep divisions between them on ideological, political, tribal, and then sectarian lines, it will be a formidable challenge to obtain agreement on these issues. Again, as of now, it is nuclear what role the United Arab Emirates will play in the peace process given that it controls several Yemeni ports the strategically important since islands of Farim at the Bab al Mandab, the Socotra in the Gulf of Aden, and supports the separatist Southern Transitional Council based in Aden. However, the mood in Yemen is one of cautious optimism. A Houthi spokesperson has said that an atmosphere of peace hangs over the region. The accommodation of Syria. The earthquake that devastated Turkey and Syria in early February this year encouraged diplomatic engagements with Damascus, which have accelerated after the Saudi Iran Accord. Soon after the earthquake, Mr. Assad received delegations from Lebanon, Jordan, and the UAE, spoke to the leader of Bahrain and Egypt, and visited Oman on February 20. after the accord that brought together the two countries that had been on opposite sides in the Syrian conflict. Mr. Assad on opposite sides in the Syrian conflict, Mr. Assad visited Russia and the UAE, signaling the end of Syria's political isolation over 10 years. In Abu Dhabi, the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan welcomed Mr. Assad by saying that it was time for Syria to return to the Arab fold. Syrian Foreign Minister Meghdad's visit to Cairo in early April was the first such visit in a decade. This was followed by a visit to Jeddah. Saudi Arabia is expected to invite Syria to attend the Arab League summit in Riyadh in May, thus completing Syria's political rehabilitation. Russia's principal ongoing effort is to reconcile Syria and Turkey, but further engagement is proving difficult as Syria insists on full Turkish military withdrawal from northern Syria. Substantial interactions are expected after the Turkish elections on May 14. An emerging regional order, the now former United States President Barack Obama in March 2016, in an interview with the Atlantic magazine, had urged Saudi Arabia and Iran to find an effective way to share the neighborhood and institute some sort of cold peace. Ironically, in these active diplomatic interactions across West Asia, the US is on the sideline, often as a disgruntled observer. Clearly, the region has shrugged off the US yoke and is taking foreign policy decisions independently of American wishes. The Beijing Accord illustrates this most dramatically. Saudi Arabia has become a dialogue partner of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and wants a membership of BRICS. It will continue to buy weapons from the US, but it is also diversifying its suppliers. It has bought ballistic missiles from China and has recently purchased Chinese technology to manufacture its own missiles. Saudi Arabia and Russia remain solid partners in the OPEC conclave to manage oil production and prices. Iran already has substantial defense, energy, economic, and logistical connectivity ties with Russia and China. The three countries carried out another joint naval exercise in March. Iran has a central place in the Belt and Road Initiative and is working with Russia to close the small gaps in the 7,200-kilometer international north-south transport corridor that links Moscow with the western coast of India. These developments presage two scenarios. One, a West Asian cooperative hub founded on diplomatic engagements among regional states. This will in turn be part of a larger order, embracing Eurasia and the Indian Ocean that is defined by multipolarity and encourages regional states to pursue their interests through diverse interactions and alignments. China can be expected to be at the center of much of this diplomatic activity. This is the editorial page. I hope it would be just while reading, at least make it zoom the whole page. It will come and zoom. Is Mandal politics electorally salient again? We also have a closely examined the slogan Jitni Habadi Utna Hak, rights in proportion to population. This is shifting the discourse from historical injustices to distribution. It has serious implications because it comes down to which category you are placed in. The many moods of politicians in the legislative assembly, small steps and a giant leap. Newborn babies rest in this special. Many moods of politicians in the legislative assembly. Hessi's ruling of 2018 was a rainbow of hope. By decriminalizing homosexuality, the court says it contemplated that stable, marriage like relationships could exist between same sex persons who do not treat their bond as chance encounters. That for them it is not just a physical relationship but something like a stable emotional relationship. In the last 69 years, our law has evolved to recognize the fact when you decriminalize homosexuality, you also realize that these are not just one-off relationship, that these are also comprehensive and stable relationships. Let me read this article, which is very important related to same-sex marriage. Chief Justice of India D.Y. Chandrachud on Thursday said the moment the Supreme Court gave a rainbow of hope to the community by decriminalizing homosexuality in 2018, it had implicitly contemplated that stable, marriage like relationships could exist between same sex persons who do not treat their bond as chance encounters. The moment we said homosexuality is no longer an offense under Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code, we necessarily contemplated that there could be a stable marriage like relationship between two persons who do not treat these as chance encounters but as something more than that. That for them it is not just as physical relationship but something like a stable emotional relationship. Chief Justice Chandrachud observed during the third day of the Constitution Bench hearing of petitions seeking legal recognition of same-sex marriages. The government had argued in an affidavit that the court had only decriminalized sexual intercourse between same sex persons in its 2018 judgment in the Navtej Singh Johar case and not legitimized this conduct. The court, while decriminalizing homosexuality, had never accepted same sex marriage as part of the fundamental right to life and dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution. The petitioners have sought a broader interpretation of the Special Marriage Act of 1954 by making it gender neutral and read the term spouse into the heterosexual usages of man and woman in the law. Chief Justice Chandrachud said Parliament's intention behind introducing the 1954 Act was to open up an avenue for people who are not falling back or laying on the diktats of their respective personal laws to get married. Justice S. Ravindra Bhatt described the 1954 Act as an all-enfolding legislation. There was also a factor of addressing endogamy, which we cannot ignore. Justice Butt said, in the last 69 years, our law has evolved to recognize that the fact that when you decriminalize homosexuality, you also realize that these are not just one-off relationships, that these are also comprehensive and stable relationships. Therefore, by decriminalizing homosexuality, we have not just recognized a fleeting relationship between consenting adults of the same gender. We have also recognized implicitly the fact that people who are of the same sex would be in stable relationships. Chief Justice Chandrachud said. Justice Bhatt indicated that the concept of marriage was not in stone, not cast in stone. The court's remarks serve as a counter to the arguments of the government that the existing concept of marriage as a heterosexual institution has the sanctity of law and religion. The center has warned that legal recognition of same sex marriage would seriously affect the interests of every citizen. The concept of marriage transcends contemporary understanding. Used in a constitutional sense, marriage provides a framework, and framework is evolving and not cast in stone. Justice but observed. However, the court said it has to examine whether it was making policy choices, which was the first, which was the which was for the legislature to make, and whether it was doing something fundamentally contrary to the scheme of 1954 Act. Very nice article, just to make it understand. Let me go for continue. Let me continue the Pakistan Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto to attend SCO meeting in India next month. Other identification for private use proposed. SEO members must pool resources, expertise, and disaster resilience. Faith in children's vaccines have gone up in India, says UNICEF. 67 accused in a Naroda village massacre case acquitted. Those acquitted by the Special Trial Court in the 2002 case include the former Gujarat Minister Anmaya Kodnani, Bajrang Dal leader Babu Bajrangi, and former VIHP leader Jagdeep Patil. Government has failed to grant guarantee to MSP Congress. Congress to appeal against verdict, rejecting Raoul's plea for stay and conviction. Buddha's teachings can solve most contemporary global problems. PM. Ketchi cannot amend for alter lease deed, says SC. No discrimination against students of any region in Australia. Gautam Adani meets NCP Supremo Sharad Pawar. CUT PG to be held from June 5 to June 12. NHRC notice to UP AMU on dog attack. Foreign universities are hubs of anti-Bharat activities. Dhankar. Kingmaker JDS goes all out to hold on to its old Mysore. My party and father strongly believe in politics of inclusion. Yediyurappa's son says he will follow his father's path by being in good terms with Muslims and Christians and taking everybody along. If you were given a choice between Varna, where former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah is contesting, and Shikaripura, which one would you have chosen? Age cannot wither his campaign enthusiasm. Exoneration of souls. IRS agent alleges hunter-bidden probe is being mishandled. IP image of Mario Pole Hospital drag wins WordPress photo. Alan says US seeks constructive economic ties with China. BuzzFeed to close news operation to reduce 15% of its workforce. 85 dead under injured in Yemen crash over 8 head. SpaceX unscrewed Starship exports shortly after a liftoff. NATO must invite Ukraine into alliance, says Zelensky. Assad emerges from isolation as West Asia diplomacy shifts. War against inflation not at one. Premature to declare and to tightening cycle, says RBI MPC's Verma. No further withdrawal of accommodation remains to be done. Repo rate is already at 6.4% at a level that prevailed at the beginning of previous easing cycle in February 2019, he says. CL Tech Q4 profit rises by 11% to 3,983 crore. India's real GDP growth likely accelerated to 4.9% in Q4 as CRA. Abbas Cook meets IT Minister Vaishnav. EU seeks liberalized tropic rights to take on Gulf carriers. Royal Challengers in cruise control against Kings. Delhi Capital finally crosses the line. Bowlers and Warner guide it past Kolkata Knight Riders. The Dhoni show returns to Chapok as Sunrisers come calling. Manchester City uses past Bain and into the semis. Four-stroke karting series to be held across 6 cities. Clinical Advani demolishes all, emerges champion. Satyan takes on Sharat. Yashashwini meets Reeth. Indian men's recurve team storms into the final. Barcelona needs to beat Atletico to avoid fears of meltdown. Milan powerhouses focus home hearts ahead of their European joust. Bayern eyes another Bundesliga title as consolation. There's a lost page, text and context. India's fighter jet conundrum. If we keep buying them from the open market in the world, we will never become self reliant. We need to give a push to our own industry as number of new LPG connections in the last 9 years. India falls back on zero dose children, says UNICEF. The number of children in Africa who missed vaccinations. A drop in US space industry funding in the first quarter. The people luckily at a Ramadan cash handout in Yemen. Max, from page to screen, should films based on books stay faithful to their source? Whether it is Ponniyin Selvan in Tamil or the Harry Potter series in English, adapting books into movies has always been tricky. Filmmakers may want to put their own stamp on the story, and this can mean making changes to the book. So I hope this would be very useful, guys. Keep reading the newspaper and keep finding out the uncommon and not understanding words and making the notes of those words and find out the meaning for the same words in the Google Translate and make it revise for at least once a day at the end. You'll get to know what is the words meaning, and you can the same words will come while speaking anywhere. I hope please subscribe to my channel, like and comment. Have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.